Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, I'm back out here at Giga Texas wearing my Reoccupy the Moon shirt, and it is Friday the 13th. So if you would think that that might be a scary day to fly here, it actually turned out to be quite nice and a lot of really great things to see. Now for today, I kind of did a little bit of a different flight path. First of all, we start off at the far northeast, taking a look at that clearing, that large rectangular field. Right now, what they're doing is kind of separating dirt and some of the tree and vegetation debris. And this is continuing to prepare this site for probable construction very soon. Also on the northeast side, we see that Lippmann concrete pulverizing process is well underway with a gigantic pile of aggregate that has come from all of the concrete that is being crushed. Of course, we also see more of the rebar being stored. On the far east, we see that clearing that is continuing all along kind of the eastern side of the material staging yard, and that continues all the way over to that southeast clearing that we've been watching for some time. And of course, on the very far southwest of the site, across the highway, they continue to prepare that area for that new logistics yard that we talked about with the permit. They're clearing out more of the gravel on that old contractor parking lot, and they're also clearing out more of the west side of that triangular large staging yard, and much of the materials continue to be moved elsewhere. The last place that we looked at around the site for extra construction is sort of on that northwest side across the highway up near Tesla Road. They've been adding more of the aggregate that they've been picking up from that southwest side former contractor lot and putting it all throughout this newly land scraped area as they've been preparing that for what could be either more parking or maybe more staging, but that continues to develop. The other part of the flight today that I wanted to show you is that there are a lot of Cybercabs testing around on Giga Texas today. I saw at least 6 different individual Cybercabs. Some of them were grouped together in groups of 3 or 4. Some of them were driving on the roadway by the end of line to the south, and some of them were over on the east side of the factory entering into that exit point for the production line. So there is a ton of activity for the Cybercabs as they work out all of the production processes and the procedures that they're going to be using, and also just testing out how the Cybercabs production line is coming along. Because there's so many more that we're seeing here and at various cities, including Austin, doing testing for the robo-taxi fleet, the production process must be coming up a little bit as they get that all prepared for that April production, which still seems to be on track. So without further ado, let's get in the drone, let's fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like on this Friday the 13th, where it's not scary, but there's a lot of really great things to see. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. So let's go flying.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning from the west side of the highway over the outbound lot near the superchargers. Wanted to start here because I noticed as I arrived that there were several Cybercabs. In fact, there's one backing up on the right, and there's two here in the superchargers. We're going to see this change and many other of the Cybercabs driving around all over the site. But this is a great view of what these look like here. I've had some people ask why the wheels are different and they don't have all the wheel covers. I'm not really sure, except to say that it may be just related to pre-production. But speaking of which, there's another one that just drove by here. We'll follow along these lanes. This is testing along the process of how the vehicles would exit and then arrive here for processing. In fact, you can see yet another Cybercab on the left-hand side of the screen. And this is following along with the Model Ys, also the Cybertruck that comes in here. This is where the employees would meet up with them. They do some check-ins, and then the vehicles will continue to drive autonomously over to the north end of the end of line and then go inside for final checks and processing. But it looks like they are kind of refining this process here, showing what it's like when they arrive and there's some vehicles already in the lanes. So great to see. Also, there are some Model Ys on the north side of the site. Maybe they're having them there for the Cybercabs to have to deal with, but it is still continuing to do a lot of testing. Now, we also see vehicles at the bottom of the screen getting ready for direct delivery and vehicles being washed here. And so it looks like, even though this is a Friday, a non-production day, they have brought the employees in to work the outbound lot and the end of line. You can see that with the trucks picking up vehicles as well. So I'm going to kind of fly at a higher altitude over this material staging yard, some of the workshops, and the supercharger workshop, which is coming into view directly ahead of us in that rounded top tent. And I'm going to bring the drone up over the power lines. I wanted to show you what's going on with this far southwest corner of the site. We're going to look at a lot of different outlying areas throughout this video. This is where they've been preparing for some of the dirt, also storing and collecting it for some of the other rest of the site. We can see the zoom in that they're continuing to remove the gravel from the old contractor lot. Also, some of the fencing has been brought down and the parking markers. As we continue to turn the drone around, we'll see also that they move more and more of the equipment and steel items that have been stored in this part of the site. They're getting it all cleaned up, and you can almost see an outline of where all of the light post conduit risers are. And we're going to most likely see this transformed into that logistics yard that we saw in the permit. Also, they are continuing to move more materials towards this east side and slowly removing them as they're using them around the site. And it makes me wonder if they're just going to be working mostly on the center to the west side and that old contractor lot first, and then work from there. It's also part of a larger overall restructuring of the entire site as they are moving a lot of long-standing items, materials, workshops to different areas to support new construction that is getting ready to happen. Now, while I was here, I noticed a truck with a temporary cooler arriving here. I'm not sure where this is destined. Looks like it may be temporarily stored here. But this may be indicating that we're going to see some of these used in new parts of the factory as well. And that will be something I'll continue to watch. All the transformers still being stored here, along with the spools of cabling and other building materials. On the north here, the clearing, not a lot of activity at the time I'm flying here this morning. But they still do have some of the stakes in the ground for some of the work that's being done. And it's a great view of how this looks here today. Now, at the bottom center of the screen are a bunch of Model Ys. This is where they're doing testing of robotaxis. So that may be the next 4 vehicles getting ready to be added to the fleet. As we fly over this field, just want to check in to this new storage yard where some of the steel items from that far southwest have been moved temporarily. The rackings for the castings are being stored here now. And of course, more of the material staging yard just to the north. It does look like it's cleaned up a little to me. This white Model Y is also a robotaxi test unit, I believe. And it looks like they are doing some supervising of that process underway. As we pass over these smaller power lines and these workshops just to the south of where the Evapco fan units are, let's a quick look at what these appear like. No real change over a long time, and some of the other materials nearby. We can also see that some more steel is being brought up to this part of the site, and it's all just part of that reconfiguration effort. Now in this new lot, we can tell where the new dirt has been added. Also the ramps over to where the gravel is located in the top left of the screen. Also, some yard trucks are being kind of staged here at the very bottom of the screen. So that may be giving us a little bit of a hint of what this is for. As I maneuver around, it's a good view of all of that gravel that's being relocated from that southwest contractor parking lot. And just overall how this is looking. Looking back towards the main factory across this site, this gives us kind of a better idea of how they're making that section more rectangular with these two ramps coming over to this farther western side. I'll bring the drone down a little bit lower so you can get a better sense of the elevation here and the work that is underway. So I'm going to bring the drone up. We're going to prepare to cross over the highway, and we'll start up to the north of the electrical switch yard, and then I want to go farther to the north to show you what's going on in that new area of Giga Texas being prepared for construction. I like the view over the electrical switch yard. You can clearly see its expansion over to Cortex 2 and the die shop and cathode building. I also like the sun rays coming down through the clouds, and it'll be kind of sunny and cloudy most of the rest of the flight. As I turn towards the north, you can see the concrete batch plant at the bottom left, also where they have landscaping. And there is actually a new clearing off to the left. I just noticed. I'll have to come back for my next video to see what that is. But my main focus was this large field. As we get a little bit closer, I'll bring the drone down here and we'll see what they're up to. Now there's a small pond at the bottom. You can see there's roadways and some dirt has been brought in. So it looks like they're doing some work here just to the west of this dirt road. And then here with all these piles that have been created over the last several days. In fact, another one's being created right now. What I think they're doing is they're separating dirt and tree and vegetation debris. And you can see that operation coming into view here with this equipment and the conveyor. And on the ground, you'll see a lot of the tree trunks and other debris that has been separated out. I think this entire area had this kind of intermixed in. That's not a very good building foundation material. So they are going through the entire process of cleaning all of this out and preparing for that future construction. I love this view with the zoom in back towards Giga Texas. And as we zoom back out, what the overall site looks like. This is definitely an area to keep in mind, as it is pretty clear to me based on previous soil samples, the cleaning out of materials that used to be here. You can see some of the outline there. That work on the right-hand side of the screen, and also some more roadways and soil samples that have been done throughout this kind of hilly valley area, which is part of that sand and gravel mine. Here's a good view of some of that work that has been underway, I guess you'd say, maybe more exploratory, but I really do believe that they're going to be reclaiming all of this, and it's going to be a very large construction site at some point in the near future. As I come over further to what I call Lone Tree Field, there's a nice view of the rental equipment lot where the maintenance facilities are, some of the equipment that has been stored here temporarily until needed. On the left-hand side of the screen, where all the concrete used to be, that has all been now cleaned up and moved over to the Lippmann crushers, which we will see in operation here momentarily. Here's a great lower end view of all of this rental equipment lot and facilities that are located up on this section of the site. And off to the left with all these green bins is where they've been doing some recycling of materials. And this is in addition to the main recycling plant, which we will see later in the video. As we fly over this depression and some of this area where the dirt has been extracted for more of the construction, we'll come in here where these two large mounds of aggregate are being created with this crushing operation. And you can see the large conveyor belt all in operation now. They're loading in the broken up pieces of concrete into some of the equipment on the south side. It is processed. The rebar is removed. You can see some of the piles in the center of the screen. Some of them are in bins. And then that process continues. You can see that they are excavating more of the old concrete here. And also a little bit to the south near where the pipe is located. You can see that just to the center left, that's the old pipe that we're just flying over. That was part of the original concrete batch plant that predates Giga Texas. We can also see that there is some earthwork being done here on the east side of the cathode building. And I'll give you a better look at that here momentarily. But first, we'll come in and look at the transformers that are being stored here. There looks to be some gray equipment being delivered here as well. All of this is destined for Cortex 2, most likely the west side, as they're putting in the piers and the platforms for this equipment. Here's a good look at the Wade pit, the office trailer off to the right, and the crash test facility. We'll kind of maneuver here from the north to the south, just mostly to get a flavor of the operation that is going on here right now. Most of the crash tested vehicles are parked here on the west side next to the fence. And all the ones that are covered are Cybercabs that have undergone testing. And we've been watching that for some time. At the south end, next to the motor unit and equipment shed, we can see that the concrete is poured and curing for the crash test dummy lab. You can also see those 6 kind of formed areas on the concrete. That'll probably be an interior structure, perhaps maybe restrooms, which is one of the things that they called out in the permit. Here's a good view from the south to the north across the crash test facility. Now, I did mention I'll give you a better view of the earthwork here on the east side. This gives you a look off towards the east over the Colorado River, and you can tell that there is earthwork that is being done. In fact, it looks like they're breaking up a lot of the trees and vegetation and starting to pile it together over on this side. That also suggests we're going to see some additional construction here that may be related to a permit for Bobcat 1.5, which Bobcat refers to the cathode building, at least in the permits, and it may be the construction of an anode factory. As we pass the workshop for the batch plant, which is getting ready for demolition, we can see that there's this mound with a lot of concrete debris. I bet you that will be broken up by the Lippmann machines soon. Also, you can tell where this is being cleared off and how it wraps around the tree line on the left over to the large clearing, which has been under work for several months now. At the bottom of the screen, they're bringing in more dirt to fill in this graded area to level it out. And as we pass over the workshops, I'll zoom in. And this is just a nice quick view of the work that is being done on this large clearing and where River Road is going to be extended through. We do see some additional steel corrugated pipes that have been added in on that south side. So my next video, I'll try to get a closer view of that. For now, I'll zoom back out. We'll take a look at the recycle facility at the top center of the screen and the east warehouse on wheels. And I really do think that this east warehouse on wheels is what is destined to be moving over to that far southwest, that new logistics lot, once that is completed. But that is still speculation to some degree on my part, so we'll watch and see how that develops. For now, let's come into Cortex 2, where we're going to see a ton of activity. We'll first start off on the south end, and then we'll maneuver our way over to the east side. What I wanted to show you is the clearing at the bottom center of the screen where you have some vehicles in that blue container. This is where they had all of the Megapacks that were stored, and they've all been moved in position. Now, in my previous video, we saw the Saren's crane driving along this roadway next to the building, to the east, and I'll show you why they did in fact put in some more Megapacks. But for now, I wanted to show you the work on these two large black pipes that are extending out of the south end, working their way to the east, and then over to where these temporary coolers are located. This kind of suggests that this is a temporary solution until they get all of the cooling system up and running. In addition to the temporary system, here we see some of that FRP beams and scaffolding kind of structure being added in on these two other slabs. This is extending the fan enclosure, and eventually it will be 6 fans on the roof, very similar to the 4 you see right now. And you can also see the slats along the sides to allow the air to come in for cooling. As I zoom in, this gives you a better look at the FRP panels, our beams being installed, and the rest of the structure. And here is where the Saren's crane was brought over. They installed 16 more Megapacks on this side, as we kind of speculated based on the piers and the beams they were putting on the ground. The platform with the transformers and electrical equipment is clearly meant for the operation of those Megapacks. That brings it together now to about very close to 150 Megapacks installed on both the east and the west side, with room for about double that still to come. As I maneuver the drone around here, we see preparation on the ground here, possibly for a large paved section. And then, of course, part 2 of the cooling system is really coming along now. Most of the walls are all poured. They are putting in the rebar and the frames for the fan enclosures in the middle section. You can see the bunkers at the bottom for more of the pipes, and the holes in the concrete wall to allow the pipes to protrude through. More of the earthwork that is happening to the north side. That asphalt section is just being used mostly for material, probably for mud control. And we see some additional work at the north corner. We'll come back to that momentarily, but I thought I would just pull away a little to give you an overall view of how this east side is coming together. Of course, next to where all the vehicles are parked, we see on the right-hand side that workshop, and of course the chiller unit for the cathode plant and the die shop still has that plastic temporary wall around it, and I do expect that to be moved away soon, as we are now pretty much out of the freezing temperature part of the year. Bring the drone back down here, show you some more of the trench work that is underway, some of the trench boxes, and some other activity here on the ground. We see some conduits being installed with the red concrete on top, extending from those 2 vaults. And then here on the north side, we see some more conduit being installed near the open doorway, some of the pipes and manifolds on the yard trucks. And as we wrap around the building here, we can get a good sense of the paved section and all of the areas where they're putting in the screw type piers, preparing for the platforms and transformers on the left, and on the kind of right hand side is where the screw type piers and platforms will be for the more Megapacks. And as I kind of maneuver our way here, just kind of show you what some of this looks like here. More of the screw type piers on the ground ready for installation. Risers from the conduit on the left inside some of the asphalt, and of course the piers on the left where the platforms will be located. And with the number of screw type piers still on the ground waiting for installation, we have a long way to go. Here's a good view of some of the vaults being installed at the bottom of the screen, and where we're getting close to where more of the platforms and installed transformers, electrical equipment is put in. We have 15 rows of 8 Megapacks here on this side already, and the Saren's crane is standing by, waiting for its chance to have more Megapacks arrive. The bottom of the screen, we see the conduits going in through the cable trays over the parapet wall and down into the building. I expect to see something similar to this being installed on further to the north, where we see where all the other Megapacks will eventually be installed. So just a ton of activity going on here on the outside of Cortex 2, and equally amount of work being done on the inside, which is a little bit out of sight. But I bring the drone up to a higher altitude just to give you this bird's eye view of all of the areas that we viewed here at Cortex 2, and we'll get ready to go over towards the electrical switch yard. You can see here more of the rebar cages are being prepared and some other forms at the actual site. A lot of the footers have already been put with concrete. You can see some for the steel assemblies, some for the A-frames, and 2 large slabs that have had the concrete poured, but still curing, so they can't remove the forms quite yet. There's a large group of employees over near the V-type circuit breakers. You can see at the bottom of the screen that new slab is going to be for another one of those V-type circuit breakers. It looks to me like this third platform, or the slab with the catch basin, is being prepared for the third transformer to arrive. You can see that black material being laid out on the south side of that slab. So if we're lucky, maybe we'll see that arrive next week. Otherwise, it may arrive over the weekend. But it looks really like they are moving quickly to get all of those transformers inside or installed. As we pass the Megapack 2 on the upper part of the screen, we see some more deliveries here at this staging yard, and directly ahead, some more deliveries have been made, including the fan housings for the chiller plants for Cortex 2. Looks like there's 3 more groups of them, plus these boxes, and also some of the drive shaft and motor equipment to make the fans operate. So it's really great to see just how quickly they are moving along with the Cortex 2 construction. If you look at the east lot, also the temporary trailers here with the welcome center and orientation, it is interesting to note the amount of vehicles here on a Friday, even though it's a non-production day. It does seem like there is a lot of activity probably going on inside the factory, maybe getting production lines ready to go. But as we get to this particular material staging yard, I just wanted to show you not only everything that was stored in here, but specifically this new conduit with the and the trenching coming over towards the wind tunnel. Also a close view of the wind tunnel. I think this is all indicating that the wind tunnel is going to be here for a while. This is permanent electrical power. The green trailer, which is a temporary generator, it looks like that is going to be replaced, and you can see the conduit all along the south side of this lot, and of course many of those Model Y rear-wheel drives or all-wheel drives, formerly known as the standards, being stored in that lot. Now, as I was coming over to take a look at what's going on the east side of the factory, a couple of things caught my eye. First, just showing you this staging lot with materials. This is also where the large tank that's on stilts just to the north of the Cortex 2 originally came from, and I mentioned that in my previous video. The other thing I noticed here is the work is continuing next to this intersection, and while I was looking here, another Cybercab is driving along to the north on Cyber Circle. Here's a good view of that. There's also some deliveries over by the stamping machine section, but for right now, I think I would just follow the Cybercab. What I'm going to show you is it comes up here, does the U-turn, and then it proceeds over going in the out in this drive path. This is where all of the Cybercabs will exit the building. In fact, they'll exit right through this particular door. And just on the inside here is where it has that lit kind of tunnel, which indicates the end of the production process in the building and the start of the journey over to the west end of line of the facility. So they're continuing to test out all of this as well. As we fly back to the north along the east side, just trying to show you what it looks like here next to the receiving doors, some of the materials that are being stored, particularly next to the secondary main entrance here. It does look like there's a little bit less, so more and more of that is being moved inside for installation. As we continue this path to the north, we see the wooden crates with blue wrappings here next to the tower and that kind of blue structure that goes into the building. And this seems to be a temporary holding point for items for production, and it's been here for a little bit of time, but it does have an inventory that changes out. We see a vehicle or a truck with the bed up. They just delivered more of the aluminum wheels that are used for melting down for the aluminum to make the castings. So what I wanted to do now is come back up to a higher altitude. We'll fly over the casting section, and I noticed an interesting set of deliveries next to the 4680 cell portion of the factory. These two tanks are very interesting. You can see that it's KBK Industries. They are a leading storage tank manufacturer. They do carbon steel, stainless steel, and fiberglass tanks. You can see the link at the bottom of the screen if you want more. The fact that this is being put into the 4680 cell portion of the factory, and we've heard that they've pretty much mastered the dry electrode for anode and cathode, that may indicate that they're doing some more upgrades inside the facility now that they have that process done. In these bins, we see more of the Model Y bumpers being recycled. I'm not sure if they're trying a new process or what, but the main reason why I'm looking in there is to see if we have any Cybercab bumpers or plastic parts. I have not seen those quite yet, so I'll keep an eye out. I'm going to just turn around over this north casting handling yard, and we're going to maneuver our way around the northwest corner over to the battery cell receiving doors where there are some deliveries today. As I mentioned, there are some deliveries. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but these kind of white and blue packed materials, some of which are on the truck, some of them are on that kind of forklift here at the bottom with all the workers. I don't see any of the cans being recycled from the 4680s in the bins, but it does look like with the large tanks and these deliveries that there is more work being done on the inside of the facility, which I think for batteries is a great thing for Tesla. And with the breakthrough with the dry electrode process, I think it's really heralds a great year coming up for batteries and Tesla. As we maneuver further to the south towards the West Main entrance, just to check in here at the exit point for the Model Ys. I did see a few vehicles parked out here, but I don't think this indicates anything other than you just have a couple of vehicles here. No production going on today, but we do see a shuttle bus bringing some more employees, and they're entering in for work. So who knows? With the number of vehicles parked on the east side, and what we're seeing here, maybe they're doing some internal work on this Friday. And that, again, may be a good sign, but it's really hard to know just from watching with the drones. As I fly around the flagpoles and give you a look down at the entrance, I will kind of bring the drone back up. We'll look back across the highway to the end of line and outbound lot in downtown Austin, and we'll bring the drone up to a much higher altitude. And I thought I would sort of end this week, this Friday the 13th, and just the flight showing you how much of the site is now under construction and repurposing and the amount of materials that are being moved. Thought I would show you this view here, kind of just overview of all those areas that we visited, and just kind of reflect on the fact that it really does seem like the site is ready for another boom in construction, unlike anything I've seen in the last several years here. And that's saying a lot because there's always a lot of activity. So a lot to keep track on and a lot to be looking out for as we get further into 2026. So I hope you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about today. As always, thank you very much for your support. Have a great weekend.